Is there too much pavement in LA? Like,
Probably.
Yeah, well, there's the really amazing study. It just came out.
hi, this is Zena Harris.
And I'm Mark Raven.
Welcome to the tie-in.
Hi, and welcome to the tie-in. Today we're speaking with Amanda Lee Smith, who's an artist, conservation and native plant influencer, IATSE Scenic painter, and certified naturalist.
Hi, Amanda. Welcome to the tie-in.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
We're excited you could join us. I know, you are working, so this is going to be, we're time bound for sure. But just so people know a little bit more about you, can you tell us just how you got into the world of entertainment? How'd you start out, and then we can talk about what you're doing now.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, I've been working in entertainment for over 20 years at this point. I started in my education with theater, doing set design and found my way to set painting. So that's really what I've done as my professional career since then. I moved to LA in 2008 for grad school at Cal Arts and was in the theater program there. And so, yeah, I worked in everything from theater to theme parks and now working for the motion picture industry for within IATSE.
Yeah. Yeah. So, curious, you've spent a lot of time across theater, theme parks, film, and now you joined IATSE. Like, how did this all come together for you? It seemed like then, at the same time you joined IATSE, you also started a project called LA is Not a Desert, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah.
So, what happened for you that year that made it all come together?
Yeah, well, since I had moved out west, I had always been I had become an avid hiker and camper. I think just something about the landscape out here. I moved from Florida, so it was very different, getting to know the arid west. And so that was a huge influence on me. But even though I had always been a hiker, I had never really taken the time to know much about the native flora and fauna of California, of my new home here. So what happened in 2022 is just for like a lot of people during the pandemic, it kind of opened up some new opportunities for me with downtime that I had. I took a class called the UC CalNat class, which allows you to become a certified California naturalist. It's like a 9-week course. You learn all about your local ecologies. Mine was focused on urban ecology.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was just a huge inspiration for me. And I've always been doing the painting work, but I think really in learning about how amazing our local ecosystems are, it really propelled me to think more about sustainability in other aspects of my life.
Right.
Of course.
So maybe just tell us a little bit, like just to dive right into it, about your project. LA is not a desert, and then we can tie it back to the other work.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So I think after, you know, the name is supposed to be a little funny because it's really like LA is a desert is the sort of thing you hear at a party. It's the sort of thing you might see in a comment section on the LA Times article about water use in Los Angeles. And so it's the kind of thing that gets thrown out there. And I was just really interested in why this is. Why do people think, all of LA? I've even seen people call all of California a desert,
Wow.
which is
Wow.
quite a stretch. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So where does this come from? And so the project was just a way, I mean, for me to continue learning and engaging with local activism and environmentalism, and but also able to working to share what I was learning through art and writing, to kind of look at this kind of thing people say about LA. Where is it true? We do have deserts in East LA County. But anyways, we have a lot of biomes and microclimates, and LA is a very complex place. So there's a lot to really explore there, and that's what I'm doing through my project and the art I make for it.
Yeah, yeah, and, I will say, like, I've got your Instagram pulled up, and it is lovely and vibrant and a lot of fun stuff that you have on there. One of the things that I saw just right at the top, is there too much pavement in LA? Like,
Probably.
Yeah, well, there's the really amazing study. It just came out that finds that almost half of the pavement that's in LA just isn't probably necessary. It's
really?
Yes, yeah. I mean, they took out roads and sidewalks, anything that was, of course, needed for us to be able to move around. So just, I think it's kind of goes hand in hand with the sustainability work. Like when you read studies like this, sometimes there's just they find even a simple solution to start with, like moving all our parking spots. If they were all just angled, that would allow for, I think, somewhere around 1,600 acres of pavement to be able to be removed from Los Angeles, which is half the size of downtown. Um, so just simple thing, like if we could just repaint all our parking lots and then have some sort of funding and incentive for property owners to convert the rest of that land into little mini parks, you would have a much greener city. Um, so yeah, yeah.
I spent quite a bit of time in April last year in LA, and I was staying in Eagle Rock, but I went for a hike, in and around, and I was actually surprised at how green and lush and almost tropical it was. And then also then you go like a little bit over and it's just like clear cut, no trees, no greenery. It's like, wow.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the dichotomy of Los Angeles for sure. Like there are large parts of the county that are lacking green space, lacking equal access to parks. So that's a part of the project too, is to talk about like environmental justice and where our green spaces exist still and where they're like direly needed within the city.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, I looked at a few posts on your Instagram page and learned a lot about scrubland. And how like I was like, wow, this is cool. I had no idea. I had no idea. So
That's
inter-
great. Yeah, you're LA based.
no, but I've been down there, in and around that area for years and years and years. And I mean, I used to live in Pasadena, so we'd go hiking and anyway, all to say, like I was just like, oh, it just anyway. So educational as well as fun and vibrant and whatnot. So very cool, very cool.
And
Um,
how do you tie in and just to jump, how do you tie in your work in film and painting with this initiative?
Yeah, well, it's definitely a challenge for sure. I think there's been a lot of progress that's been going on in the film industries, but there's still more work to do. I think for me, it's just my grounding practice of being aware of the land that's around me. That even though I'm in the middle of a motion picture studio lot, that has been changed with landscaping, like thinking about what was here and the plants that make this city still a thriving ecosystem. It can feel kind of unrelated to my paint work, but I think it's what helps me continue to work in the sustainability committee within my local 79. And it's really just the driving factor of like, why do this work?
mhm. Mhm. And so, you talk about then working in the paint department. So what does um talking about nature and sustainability look like in the paint department?
Yeah, well, I think my coworkers have definitely learned a lot about native plants and animals too, to try to keep it to a minimum. It is the topic of my most interest, but I think that's kind of a jump that is something to work towards. I know within my sustainability committee, like, I really want to do more hikes, like, go out and learn plant ID. I think a lot of just what I've experienced so far in engaging with interlocal and interguild kind of efforts, I mean, there are lots of big ticket items that make tons of sense to go after, like
Sure.
away from gas powered vehicles, better recycling, taking food waste, and making sure that's put to use for people who need the food. But I really think coming back to a bit of environmental education and awareness could really motivate people to not just have this be kind of a compliance issue, something we are just like being told to do at our job, but through education, people would naturally want to make better decisions in their workplace if they knew what was all around them, and as a place with nature in it, not just that, that's someplace you go on your vacation to the mountains or up to Big Bear or Mammoth, but that actually right here we have plenty to still preserve and protect. So
Yeah.
that's it kind of ties in. And I think that just kind of starts with like, let's go on a hike. Hey, do you want to learn how to do some plant identification? Here are some really cool apps like iNaturalist or Merlin that can help you do bird calls by sound.
Mhm.
They're really easy tools now that make it much easier to learn about the things we're hearing and seeing in our everyday lives. And I do think that would have an impact on sustainability.
And you mentioned earlier just a grounding and even just a feeling and awareness. And so, from the experience of being out in nature and maybe playing around with some of these fun new apps too, is like that just is kind of like, completes the sort of the person, the emotional experience, or, could be spiritual, could be anything. And it just kind of adds kind of a richer, fuller life experience almost to, for people.
Absolutely. Yes. And it can continue on the lot. I do bird watching on my breaks here. How fun. Yeah, I watched a hummingbird. It was actually hunting insects the other day, a little lunch common area. And, so I just mean it's just it's a practice. So the more you're kind of looking, you'll see more things,
Right.
So even finding moments when you're working a 12-hour day, it's very difficult, of course. Right now, I don't have time to just go on a hike after work, but
Sure.
finding moments in the outdoor spaces within our lots, can still be like a point of connection to other living things in our city.
Yeah, and speaking of living things, how about on movie sets? I mean, obviously, we have this idea of LA from, you know, decades and decades of being in front of the camera. Um, yeah, how is the film industry portraying nature on film sets, and how do you envision that changing, especially with what we currently think of as LA, right? It's kind of the concrete jungle.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you kind of get those like, the more the LA you were talking about, where it's just like the shots of just the concrete, often like the most concrete parts of the LA River, the 6th Street Bridge being a really famous location, both prior and its new modern version. Um, and yeah, I think I really like exploring. I think in science fiction you see it the most. Classic shows like Star Trek. Using our chaparral, which is the plant family that fills most of our hills here in LA. Is all over Star Trek. I mean, anytime they go to an alien planet, I mean, it's convenient. It's what's here, but it's also like they're just on some scrubby hillside of Griffith Park. And but why is a treeless landscape seen as the alien place? And so that's something I also enjoy exploring and hope that in the future, just like there are initiatives for like WGA writers to write in recycling practices or to not be using plastic. Like we can make these practices familiar through the media we're creating. And I think in the same way of a familiarity with what a natural California or Los Angeles landscape looks like would be a really great goal and maybe something for the writers and directors to kind of talk about as well. And even initiatives I've heard too of what plants are greensmen using when they're making something that's based in LA. Often we get kind of that like subtropical birds of paradise uh, kind of flora coming in. But so there's just a real opportunity, I think, to make, why not a white sage plant? Why not a native sunflower? So yeah, the more people see these plants and become familiar with them, then that's when yeah, I don't know, you form a relationship with them and and want to create, want to practice um, your life at work in a way that reflects the things you love, like outside of work.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, so there's not like this tension between the 2. And yeah, I'm trying to, think about the intersection of art and science and advocacy. How do you think about that? When you're maybe, talking to folks on set or talking to people in your, advocacy work or other naturalists or scientists.
Hmm. Um, yeah, well, I think the good thing is like the native plant enthusiast community within Los Angeles is a very mixed group of people. I
Okay.
mean, it does run side by side with, there are lots of entertainment professionals that kind of have had their I'm done with the industry moments, and they've opened up native plant nurseries,
Oh, okay.
yeah, so, I think several of the, smaller nurseries in town are people who were working in the film industry prior, so I think there's this kind of great camaraderie there, I mean, it is difficult to, see and work with the amount of kind of trash that's produced, each day at our job site. And, the work is long term. There's only so much you can really do in the day to day, especially as, I'm not even the head of my department. I am literally just a brush on the job. I come and, there's room to talk about things with people, but I think it's more in having these conversations, but also having the interlocal interguild is where the work is slowly progressing because
Yeah.
it takes all the departments working together. Often even with so like one of the easiest things could be doing on our lots within the paint departments is using paint care programs.
Right.
Yeah. So, which I don't know, maybe you had a point on this later in your questions, but the problem right now is it's just not really set up as a vendor for our lots. And then if you're here on a show, you really only have so much control with changing the larger ecosystem of how things are disposed of, because we're working within the studio's practices and like processes for removing paint. And then even getting vendors is often a interlocal, uh, maybe someone in 44 is actually who are like the prop makers is actually setting up our disposal vendors for the paint department too, because we're so kind of tied in with each other in those departments. So
Mhm.
I really think that this is just this is like our changing from oil fuels. Like this is just the thing we really need to do is just utilize um the paint care program more. And I don't know, I have a whole thing about how, that
Yeah, so just to be clear, the paint care program is a free paint recycling program, is that right?
that's right. Yes. So paint care started in 2012, 2009 in some states. I think it's a program that is in 13 states in the US right now. And it was started as through the paint manufacturing companies, a program that there's a fee when you purchase any new paint. It's like a 30 cents to like $1 extra fee. And that allows for you to return any unused paint to drop off sites for free. And that paint, the most important thing and the thing that is the most different from how we process our trash paint right now is that it has to be kept in its original container. You can't just dump all your old paint together like in a big bin or a big 5-gallon
Mhm.
bucket and have that be hauled away. So, um, yeah, it's really great. I mean, just homeowners in general should really be aware of it if you have any projects and making sure as much as you can, just keep the paints in their original container and you can drop them off for free at a paint care site. But what that would kind of look like on the lots would involve this is the bigger picture of getting the larger ecosystem to change is really having a place to store the paint in its gallons in the meantime,
Mhm.
because each individual show doesn't really have space on their soundstage to additionally kind of keep a pile of paint around until it can be taken to the paint care drop off site. So yeah, yeah, there's definitely some infrastructure changes that need to happen.
Mhm. What I just love is how, like, all of this interesting, sustainability stuff can come together on a film set, because you hear a lot about certain things, like you had mentioned earlier, like, getting off, gas and diesel, reducing fuel consumption in various ways. But like, this just goes to show like even, you are noticing, stuff within your department and, even free programs and, what that infrastructure change could look like. And there's all, it's really neat. And of course, you have to then collaborate with other departments. And, it's such an interesting, fascinating, dynamic workspace. And there's all of these interesting things that can be done differently. And it's neat to hear you talk about the paint department's view on this. So,
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, I think, hopefully, uh, we'll be able to move forward with the getting some sort of paint care drop off site, on the main lots. I think would be a really great, easy first step to do. It just kind of takes getting that message kind of up the ladder a little bit, to get some action going.
mhm. So that would be who would be the ideal person? Like if you were speaking to them right now, who would be the ideal person you'd want to hear or you'd want to talk to about that on the lot?
Yeah, I mean, we have our maintenance shops on each lot.
Okay.
Actually, but they're also 729 painters. So definitely, we're in the process right now of like we had the paint care rep come talk to us in December at our union meeting, and so next step is just getting kind of a more focused conversation happening with all of the leads for the maintenance shops. To kind of figure out how that could happen. But, definitely facilities and somebody who could kind of figure out where the cans of paint are kind of stored in the meantime, because that's just
Mhm.
it's a little cumbersome when you can kind of dump all your paint into a 50-gallon drum. That's a easier thing to just stash somewhere and have that be, it's disposed of properly. It's just that there's only so much you can do with paint that's been mixed together. It also has
Mhm.
maybe Windex in it and just a bunch of water. So it's kind of a degraded material at that point. And it certainly is being disposed of in the right way. It's a even latex paint is a hazardous material within the state of California. So it has to be hauled away in a particular way. Um, but when you keep it in its original container, Paint Care is using that to recycle into new products. They also are connecting with Habitat for Humanity. And so if the paint you're donating is actually just fine, it doesn't even need to be processed. They're kind of being the in between to make sure that that paint just gets to Habitat for Humanity projects or being able to be sold in the restore stores
Mhm.
without even having to go through a whole recycling process. So, which is ultimately the best thing energy use wise. So they're just a really great program that I have found people maybe just aren't aware of. But it is again completely free. They will even come pick up from a job site if you have 100 gallon containers. They will come pick that up for free. And so that's where it kind of turns into like if we collectively collected those on sound stages, I mean, we definitely would be able to utilize even a free pickup.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. I have a question though, just to bring it about painting to your initiative.
Yeah.
Um, and it's are you actually painting plants? Are you painting like doing paintings and bringing them, selling them, or doing any sort of like art activations within the naturalist efforts?
Yeah, well, I brought some of my pieces too. I could show one real
Yeah.
quick if you want me to. So
Oh
let's
my
Okay,
see.
gosh.
perfect.
This is one of the first pieces I made. We'll have to see how it shows here.
Oh, cool.
So for the audio portion of this is a depiction of the LA River and the Glendale Narrows, which some people might not know. This is a stretch of the river that could never be fully filled with concrete. The bottom is a soft bottom. which has allowed for more plant growth and as well as just a more vibrant habitat. This would be it's everywhere from the 134 through Los Feliz, kind of just below Dodger Stadium and Elysian Park. That is, I believe it's an 8-mile stretch of the river that doesn't have concrete on the floor, and that's just because the water table was so high. So it literally never could be fully channelized the way the rest of the LA River is. And so, yeah, I've depicted the Hyperion Bridge, and I try to incorporate the activities people using the river for fishing or bird watching, and to really get a sense that all of the people and the plants and the animals are all like part of a cohesive system.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, this is kind of how I'm trying to use art to communicate how nature is integrated into our city, even when people might not really uh, think of LA as like a nature city. There really is just so much here. I use native plants. I try to mostly depict native plants in the pieces I do. And I work in everything from this was originally actually a 6-foot paper cut that I did. So it's big sized piece of artwork. And then I took it and redrew it to make the digital art print versions that I sell. And that's really something I'll go back and forth between doing lino cuts. Sometimes I scan it and keep working digitally. So being able to go back and forth between mediums is how I work, but really just inspired by all of that, like stencils and paper cut, lino cut, um, oh, art styles.
Mm-hmm.
Love
Mm-hmm.
it.
I know. That's so cool.
I can almost envision a community of naturalist artists and painters putting all their work together and showcasing that and bringing awareness. I mean, I'm assuming you're doing something like that?
Well, yes, there's going to be the California Botanic Garden is having a native plant fest at the end of March. That'll be March 28th. That's out in Claremont. And so that's a really great event. And maybe you are a person who like, like, I don't really know about native plants. Please go to this garden in general. The whole garden is California native plants. They have it set up by region. So they even have like a little redwood section and, some like Monterey pine or, they really, really get the whole state in. So it's a great learning experience anytime, but the Native Plant Fest will be a really fun event as well. And I would also, even though it's a bit farther off in the future, there will also be the Frogtown Artwalk. That will happen in the fall sometime. It happens every 2 years. And that's just a really great local community event, but it's on the river. So if you just haven't really ever spent time in the Glendale Narrows and really paid attention to the LA River beyond just like driving by it on the 5, that's a really great opportunity to come and really see an event that celebrates the Los Angeles River.
Yeah, totally. Good things to do if you're new to LA, you want to get to know the area and the, flora and fauna and local ecosystems. Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Amanda,
Yeah.
I am just amazed at all your work and all the things you're into and how you're like, in there in the paint department making it happen and thinking about these sustainability elements too.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's really been quite a journey the past few years, and always fun when now I've kind of built myself a whole job that I do when I'm not working, and
Yeah, exactly.
and now I'm grateful to be back on a production job and still figuring out how to do the ecological education and art work as well.
Okay, so how can people find out about Ellie is not a desert?
Great. Yeah, people can find me on Instagram at LA is not a desert. And I also have a website. The website is losangeles.com.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, and there's a way, I think I have a newsletter I started now, a digital newsletter. So you can sign up on the website for that. And that's how I'll kind of share more about the events and community activations and stuff like that I'm doing.
Excellent. Excellent. And can people buy your art through the website as well?
Yes, I do have a store on the website. There's just a little link in the drop-down menu. Mhm.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
All
Amanda,
right.
thank you
Yeah,
so
Yeah.
much.
Keep
thank
up the good
you.
work.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you.
Gush about the nature here in Los Angeles. So
Oh my gosh, it's totally great. You've brought us a new perspective to pay attention to when we're there.
Absolutely. Yeah. And like I said, I think I mentioned at the beginning, but if I could just recommend one other way for people to get involved, I really uh, recommend the CalNat class that I took. Should have gotten the website full name, but I know if you just search UC CalNat, that comes up, and that is again the class I took. You can take it pretty much most places in California. The UC system partners with local organizations, so I took mine through the Arboretum. But Santa Monica Mountain Recreation Area has a class. Bolsa Chica, which is a wetlands right at the border of Orange County, has a version of the class. Really, there are so many options within LA, but even if you're in a different part of California, that's also another great way to just really deep dive into some of the stuff I'm talking about and just really get to be inspired by all of the life that's around you, even in the middle of a giant megacity like Los Angeles, that is often easy to kind of oversee the wildlife and plants that are around you every day. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you
Great.
very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Our designer Peter Chapman. Social media is by Sharon Ewan. Our editor and producer is Rachel Werbel.